We're 8 miles from the centre of Budapest. Breezy conditions, warm temperatures, but no immediate sign of rain for qualifying for tomorrow's Hungarian Grand Prix.
Then in the Nürburgring a couple of weeks ago, he had a sinus infection and obviously had the accident in qualifying as well. I'm told by McLaren's Finnish doctor that Hamilton is now 100% back in form after they took him to Finland for a week of intensive preparation. But he really is under the cosh now. He's got Alonso breathing down his neck, 2 points behind him in the World Championship. He wants to go fast, but he's got to rein himself in, hasn't he?
Yes, I think that he's in a very stressful position.
Ahead of Liuzzi, 1:23.5. So the times at the moment quite a bit slower than they were this morning. Antonio Liuzzi did a 21.9, but we've often seen Toro Rosso failing to convert their morning practice times into qualifying performance. We're focusing though on Alex Wirtz in the Williams. A lot of head action, a lot of steering wheel action as well, an awful lot of energy going on in that car.
Yeah, he has looked, to be honest, he has looked like he's been working or fighting the car a little bit. He doesn't look terribly comfortable with either with the setup, or maybe that's his style. But we'll watch him closely. He looks reasonably tidy, but the first corner was definitely a little bit ragged. We're on board now with Wirtz going into a very fast left-hander flick, and you can see now he's heading straight into the wind. The wind will help him in this corner.
Massa has just gone out as well. Alonso and Raikkonen,
Watch whether they can do better than that.
Hamilton's the fastest man out there at the moment in Sector 1 as we take a look at a replay of Jarno Trulli coming up behind one of the spikers, I believe that is, and not at all happy. Trulli currently 5th fastest on a 1:21.4. Should be enough to see him through, although he's only a 1/10 of a second quicker than the Super Aguri of Anthony Davidson, who was very fast this morning and looks as though he's carrying that form through. Hamilton, though, fastest of anybody in Sectors 1 and 2, and he's about to lower the bar by quite some margin here.
Yeah, definitely. You can see he's using loads of runoff there. I mean, as I said earlier, I think some of the runoff there could give you a bit of time, the way things are going. So many cars have been wide. He's very neat round the last corner, turn 14. Not too much on the exit. A tidy lap.
1:19.5, the fastest lap we have seen so far this weekend. And Hamilton throws the gauntlet down, not only to the Ferraris, but to his teammate, Fernando Alonso, who was swaggering after a very strong performance yesterday in free practice, and a wonderful performance, of course, at the Nürburgring. And now he knows that Hamilton has some speed around here, and it's up to Alonso to find some too. Heidfeld has been quick throughout practice.
That's a message, James, isn't it? Definitely. You know, Lewis is not. He's not going to just wait and see what Alonso does. He's out there. He's putting down his marker. Fantastic lap.
Heidfeld goes second, Kubica, his teammate, goes 7th, and I think you're right, Damon, that's classic Hamilton, really. As I said a couple of races ago, he's made the big names in this sport challenge him. He doesn't wait around for them to see what they can do. He just puts it on the line, shows them what he can do, and then says, come and get me. And Hamilton looks to be back on form here. And Massa just diving around Hamilton as he's in lap. Hopefully that won't have cost Massa too much time. Certainly looks like Hamilton got out of his way. Ted Kravitz, what have you got?
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? The way that Felipe Massa and indeed Fernando Alonso are on the softer tyre. So I think that means that, well, it's very close between the two tyres anyway, James, but that means that this is their non-favoured tyre. It's completely turned over to what it normally is. Alonso and Massa do not want to do final qualifying on the soft tyre, so they've gone out on the soft tyre now and will actually use the harder tyre when things get tasty at the end.
Yeah, interesting point, Ted. Massa goes second, albeit 9/10 of a second slower than Lewis Hamilton's benchmark. Raikkonen goes through in 4th place, riding on board with Alonso, who goes 3rd on a 1:20.4. Those white stripes indicating the softer, as I said before, the two tyres that Bridgestone have provided. That's what Ted was referring to. So clearly Alonso not particularly happy with the super soft tyre here. Doesn't believe it's the better tyre for the weekend. And in fact, this morning in the free practice session, he set his best time on the harder tyre. So Hamilton's shown us what the hard tyre can do with a 1:19.5, and we watch with great interest. What about the battle at the back? How are we doing in the drop zone? Liuzzi, Vettel, Sato, Button doesn't want to stay there for too long. Honda once again struggling with the single lap pace, and Sutil and Yamamoto coming in to fill that spiker seat for the rest of the season. Some pressure then on the Hondas.
Rubens, mixture of primes and options. Anthony went a lot quicker than Taku. He was on option, and Sato was on prime. At the moment, we think the cut-off is going to be about 21.7. So if you think you can't do a 21.7 on this tyre, we should consider changing.
In the early stages, when starting the race on wet tyres, of course, when everyone else was on slicks. Here's the man who's replacing him for the rest of the season, Yamamoto. He's started this year off in GP2 racing with the BCN team. Not made much of an impression there. Of course, he raced last year for Super Aguri. They decided to replace him with Anthony Davidson. But he came along with a sponsorship budget, which is what Spiker were looking for through to the end of the year. And he's in the seat. Christian Klein tried to get it, the Honda test driver, but he was not able to come up with the funds, and that's not very helpful. Fisichella completely blocking Yamamoto there in the final corner.
Well, that lap was pretty much compromised. It's a shame because Yamamoto, actually, I was quite impressed with some of his driving there. He was really up to the edge of the track and looked pretty on it. Never mind, he won't be unhappy. He won't be happy with that.
Certainly won't. Checkered flag then, the end of the session. A number of drivers currently in the drop zone are on laps at the moment. One of them is Sato, but he goes 17th. That will not improve his situation. He's not going to make it through. Looks like Davidson's going to be okay, though. His teammate up in 13th place. So Davidson's form, and look at that, David Coulthard struggled recently to get himself the front end of the grid. He's 10th, dropped down to 11th now, thanks to Webber improving, and Davidson goes 7th for Super Aguri, absolutely flying. Anthony Davidson. Jenson Button 20th at the moment. Can he get himself out of trouble? Oh, he's right on the cusp. He's 16th with teammate Barrichello 17th. Ralf Schumacher goes through in 5th place. So Toyota looking pretty fast at this stage of the game. Vettel, though, finding this Toro Rosso once again in the same place, a real handful. He's 20th at the moment. Kovalainen goes 2nd for Renault. Kubica goes 3rd for BMW. Button is dropped down to 17th because Liuzzi has improved in the Toro Rosso. Doesn't look like Vettel's going to be able to improve, though. He is 20th and 4 places behind Tonio Liuzzi, who, if he can stay there, which I think he will, means that Liuzzi will go through to the next part of the qualifying. And it looks as though we've lost Button, Barrichello. Both Hondas then out at the first hurdle. Sato, Vettel, Sutil and Yamamoto. That's what cost Sato some time.
Yeah, that's certainly not going to be able to get away with that one. There, as you can see, there's only grass and not tarmac. Some of the corners here you can run wide and end up on tarmac. He did well to hold it, though. I was quite impressed with that.
So Button, Barrichello, Sato, Vettel, Sutil and Yamamoto are out. The second part of qualifying coming right up. And this is where the wind really hits them, Damon.
Yeah, turn 11 and 12, the wind's coming across. He's managed to stay on the track. It's looking tidy, actually. But this is the one that everyone seems to have trouble with. And turn 12, we'll see how he manages to deal with that. Fine, it's all neat. But interestingly, Wirtz went out, one of the first cars on the track. I think sometimes that happens when you feel like you need to catch up a bit. And normally you'd want to leave it a little bit later, but he's got some work to do. Much nicer lap, much tidier lap, but we'll see what the time is.
Wirtz goes across the line at 1:20.865, and that is half a second quicker than he went this morning. And he's beginning to get his qualifying performances together. Alex Wirtz, he had a difficult time so far in his career up against teammate Rosberg. It's 9-1 at the moment to Rosberg in qualifying. Let's get some more news from Ted.
An interesting difference in the setups down at Williams, though, James. Alex Wirtz clearly feeling that the soft tyre is the one that he wants to qualify on, try to get himself into the next stage of qualifying. But Nico Rosberg has just gone out on the hard tyre. He seems to prefer that. He says it just feels that it suits his driving style more, and he's going to get the best out of that, and that offers him the best chance to get into the final period of qualifying. But I guess you can, Damon, you can have those splits, driving styles changes within a team. I mean, you and Villeneuve were quite different in the Williams, weren't you?
We're quite different in a lot of ways, actually, I'd have to say. But look, about 6 tenths up. But that's a very tidy little exit on that corner. It doesn't look like he's pushing too hard, but I think as the track cleans up, you'll see drivers starting to slide less and be a little bit more. You can see the oversteer, though, as he turned into the last corner. And that's where you do get a tailwind. You'd expect to see that if he's on the limit.
Hamilton goes fastest, 1:19.301. That should be more than enough to get him through into the final part of qualifying. I don't think he'll do another run. Raikkonen goes third, 1:20.1. So again, a margin of 0.8 of a second between the McLaren and the Ferrari. This time, both of them using the same tyre. Massa having a huge armful of oversteer there in the final corner. Ferrari is not working all that brilliantly at the moment, is it?
No, they look like they are struggling. I did say that perhaps with the longer car that they have, the Ferraris reputedly have, that might not suit them on this circuit. A more nimble car, the one that can get round these long corners like the McLaren perhaps is better as we go to Alonso.
I think Massa, though, is going to do a 2-lap run, so we'll see what he gets out of the second lap here, but 11th fastest is not at all what you'd expect from a Ferrari. Must have had some kind of problem, maybe with some traffic out there. Here he goes again then. Let's ride on board with him and see how this Ferrari's performing.
Well, again, he's had a little bit of traffic, but that shouldn't have cost him too much time, using a lot of curbs. You have to use some curb. There's time in them, but definitely you can't get up them too far. It looks like he's working reasonably hard. Press the button there on the steering wheel. I don't know what that does. Maybe he's on the...
He's coming off the throttle there quite a bit in the middle of the corner, but also he's experimenting here on a 2-lap run on the harder tyre, isn't he? So it's clear that no one's quite sure exactly what the best way to play this is. Is it hard tyres? Is it soft tyres? Is it a 2-lap run on hards? Massa's taken some information out of that, and he didn't set personal bests in either the first or second sectors there on the second lap, so it doesn't look as though that's the quicker option. Sebastian Vettel is out of the running here. He's 20th on the grid for his second Grand Prix start for Toro Rosso, and he's down with Louise Goodman.
Sebastian, I'm sure you're frustrated to not make it through, but it was always going to be a big ask given your lack of time in the car, wasn't it?
Yes, I mean, the time to get adapted to the car and to the team was quite short, but I think we did a quite good job. And today, I mean, I'm not satisfied. I did a mistake in the last sector, which was completely my mistake. The car was good enough to get into quali 2, and yeah, because of that we didn't manage. So hopefully it will be better tomorrow and next quali session next month.
Thanks.
Here's Heidfeld, shaded by teammate Kubica in the first part of qualifying, and I think there must be something quite seriously wrong with Massa's Ferrari, because he wasn't particularly fast, and he's down in 11th place here on a 21.0.
Yeah, it was a bit of a messy lap, but of course the important news is Alonso has now responded with a 1:19.6, which is only 0.3 slower than Hamilton. Both McLarens looking very strong. Alonso not able to put himself in front of Hamilton, so Hamilton just showing his class again.
Well, here's Massa being pushed and the Ferrari mechanics running down the pit lane. Perhaps Ted Kravitz can shed some light on this.
He has got a problem, yes. I mean, it's just conked out just past the Williams garage. He got away fine. He was held quite a long time in the box with the engine going while they pushed back Kimi Raikkonen, who appears to be safe in this session, but I don't think there's going to be enough time. How long have we got left, James?
We have got 4 minutes and 13 seconds.
I'm not sure if that's going to be enough time. The Ferrari guys, Massa's kind of rolling towards the end now. He better not cross the pit exit line, because then the Ferrari guys know here they are. They're rolling him back now, but definitely a problem, electronic problem or something like that in the Ferrari. I'll keep on top.
And he's outside, he was outside the top 10 on target for after the first sector. Where is he now?
We're just missing the
Still
apex.
outside, 9/1000ths outside.
Now you can tell he's nowhere near the apex of the corners, and he's clearly having trouble with it. It looks like the front end of the car is just washing out too much.
Well, he's lost another half a second to Hamilton in the middle sector as well, so this Ferrari is not working for Massa. He's having to get right off the throttle in the final corner. It's going to be touch and go here between him and Davidson, who makes it into the top 10. Massa 10th at the moment. Is he? No, where does he end up? 14th. 14th Massa, a 1:21.0. So we've lost David Coulthard, Heikki Kovalainen, Alex Wurz, Felipe Massa, Anthony Davidson, Antonio Liuzzi, and the pole position shootout between Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, and possibly Kimi Raikkonen, is coming up next.
Bringing them round to start the main business of the afternoon.
Yeah, this is the phase where they put a few laps in, just get the cars set up the way they want them to. Usually they burn off about 2.1 kilos of fuel for every lap they do around this Hungaroring circuit. They'll get that back, provided they maintain a certain pace, and then they'll come in about 5 minutes' time and have their first go at a qualifying lap. Usually 2 runs then in this third part of qualifying to establish pole position. Alonso's chosen to go out there on a set of the soft tyres, and he looks like he's having a bit of a struggle to get the thing through the corners at the moment. That's, again, the wind factor there, isn't it? The wind very strong here today at the Hungaroring, and seemed to get right underneath Alonso's car at that point. Ted Kravitz, what can you tell us?
Yeah, just while we wait for news from Ferrari, very annoyed down here at Renault. They feel that Mark Webber in the Red Bull held up Heikki Kovalainen on his run. I just got a word with Heikki, and he said, well, yes, he did kind of hold me up, but I probably wouldn't have gone much quicker, so we'll wait and see if there's any protest on that. But just on the, Damon, on the reason why Lewis can wait at the end of the pit lane like that, apparently it's because the Mercedes is able to go into a mode where it only runs on 4 cylinders. It cuts 4 cylinders out and just runs on a V4, which helps the cooling.
Yeah, well, not so many years ago, the engines, if they were left running like that, they would just burst into flames. I mean, they can't get rid of the heat. There's no fans on the car, so the radiators are fantastic when the cars are moving. But if they're not moving, they're a bit like sharks, you know, they can't breathe when they're standing still or something like that.
Well, you won here back in '93, again in '95. You almost memorably won here in '97 in an Arrows on Bridgestone tyres with a Yamaha engine in the back. Unfortunately, Jack Villeneuve spoiled the party that day and took it away from you at the very end. But you obviously have what it takes to go quick around the Hungaroring. What does it take? What's the secret then for Hamilton now? What's he got to unlock to beat Alonso?
Well, people ask me, you know, what secret, what can I give to Hamilton? I can't give anything. The guy's got everything he needs, you know. He is fantastic. And he's gone out this weekend in attacking mode. You can see him. He actually went off once, but he was trying and he had a car on the track in front of him. That's the reason why. But, you know, if you don't try, you don't find out what the limit is. And he's just been, you know, banging in the laps and showing that he's going to fight all the way.
And what is the fastest way around this racetrack then? What's the secret?
Well, it's got some long corners. It's got 4 180-degree corners in it. And so the significance of that is that the tyres and the whole car is having to work for a very long time. So you have to feel comfortable with the car on the entry. It's a long corner. You've got to go in deep and you've got to stay hard into the apex and get on the power early and just be comfortable with the car through the corner for a very long time. And then it's got these very fast flicks. We just saw Raikkonen being held up, but for the moment it doesn't matter. It's just a bit of tactics going on. Alonso cutting across there, and that's just showing them basically just a little bit of intimidation.
The gamesmanship there from Fernando Alonso, who is always willing to go toe-to-toe with anybody. A very aggressive young man. Just celebrated his 26th birthday. Fernando Alonso, it's amazing he's only 26. It seems like he's been around such a long time. 18 Grand Prix victories, 2 World Championships, and still only just turned 26. As Jarno Trulli in the Toyota, once again getting themselves up into the top 10. A little bit more optimism starting to flow around Toyota now. They don't have what it takes to challenge regularly for podiums, but they do seem to have some fundamental speed they're unlocking in this car now and regularly getting themselves into this position.
Yeah, that's true to say, and there's been a lot of criticism of the way they've gone about things, but a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, you have to say. I don't know whether that's anything to do with the fact that Williams have been granted a Toyota engine. It's nothing. There's nothing like giving your engine to someone else to make you realise that perhaps it's something to do with the chassis. So a bit of competition is always a good thing for delivering performance.
Trulli then going to go out for his first run on the harder tyre. Watch out for the tyres. The ones with the white stripe on them are the softer of the 2 compounds. The ones without the white stripe, the harder ones. And both Toyotas going that route at the moment. 8.5 minutes of the session remaining. We saw David Coulthard there, eliminated in the second part of qualifying. Louise Goodman has caught up with him.
Well, David, you qualified 13th here in the last couple of years, so a step in the right direction, but 11th is still a bit unlucky, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very close, obviously, to going through, but comparison to my morning session where every tyre I was putting on was graining, I actually think this was a step forward. So yeah, we've got the free choice of fuel, and I'm at the moment on the clean side of the grid. But someone mentioned that Fisichella's may have a penalty, but I don't know what that can be for.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Well, a number of things. I'm certainly getting in the way of Sakon Yamamoto at the early part of qualifying is what Coulthard may be referring to in terms of Fisichella, so he'll have to wait and see what happens. At the moment, Fisichella is in this top 10. The whole thing will be investigated, of course, after this qualifying session. Alonso looking at what other people are going out on. See if he can beat his teammate. This is the first of 2 runs, remember. No, he can't. 0.2 of a second slower, and he is in 3rd place. Yet to go faster than Heidfeldt's fuel burn lap. Meanwhile, Raikkonen is on the move. Fastest of anybody in Sector 1 on the softer of the 2 Bridgestone tyres. And let's see how this Ferrari is handling with Kimi Raikkonen at the wheel.
Looks aggressive. He did miss that apex there on the last corner, using a bit of curb. Tricky one here with the wind blowing you off the track, but he stays on, coming down to turn 11, I think it is, 12. And again, the wind is a factor here. Doesn't look like he's very near the limit on this corner, but the car at least is running smoothly. And again, with softer tyres, sometimes it's not desirable to slide. You can damage the tyres, and that damages the grip. Last corner, this is all he has to do now to finish the lap. We'll see what he's capable of doing.
Well, it's been relatively tidy. One missed apex, as you say. Raikkonen goes across the line, goes fastest on a 1:20.9, and that is 0.8 of a second slower than he managed in the second part of qualifying. Of course, they're carrying the fuel at this phase that they will start the Grand Prix with tomorrow. So that, relatively speaking, would indicate that Raikkonen's carrying a reasonable amount of fuel in his car, I think. Here's Rosberg, though. He's been really quick throughout qualifying. Fancies a high-up grid slot here. Goes 2nd at the moment. 1:21.4. That drops down now to 3rd because Heidfeldt has gone faster than the Ferrari of Raikkonen, and that is a danger for Ferrari to get a BMW in front of them. They really don't need that. They know they can't really compete with McLaren here, but they do not need BMWs in front of them on the grid. At the moment, that is the situation, though. Heidfeldt in front, and Kubica, of course, could get himself there as well. Alonso and Hamilton are both on quick laps. Alonso will finish his first. He goes quickest to 1:20.1, but what can Hamilton do? He's faster in Sector 1, he's faster in Sector 2. And Hamilton is absolutely flying. We could do with seeing the end of his lap, really. There he is.
That's again very exciting, seeing all the purples on the timing screen come up for Hamilton. In he goes, he's very clean, exits beautifully, looks like he's got it well under control, should be pole position.
Well, he goes fastest at the moment, a 1:19.7, 0.4 of a second slower than he managed in the second qualifying session. So that accounts for much of that 0.4 of a second difference between them. Very interesting to see which way they both go then at the end. It is quite clear that the Super Soft is the faster tyre at the moment. Heidfeldt comes in. He's going back out on the harder of the 2 tyres. But does that not indicate to you that the Super Soft that Hamilton was on is definitely quicker now?
Yeah, but you know, we saw this with Ayrton, you know, the important thing was to be faster than your teammate. There's a psychological factor as well as the tactics can also mean the psychological tactics. And I think Hamilton just wants to put down the marker. He wants to be in front of his teammate. Pole position here is putting you in a dominant position, very difficult circuit to overtake. And I don't know what the rules are about their tactics and fuel loads and stuff, whether or not he gets an advantage by being ahead of his teammate, I don't know.
Well, at the moment, Alonso having to wait again for the optimum moment to go out onto the racetrack. But he's definitely putting the harder tyres on. There's Lewis Hamilton queuing up behind him. And have they raised the lollipop to let Alonso out? Yep, they want him out of there. Now Alonso's not getting on with it. Only 1:40 to go. Is he blocking Hamilton here? Is that a bit of a tactic within the team there to give Hamilton a bit of a headache? I think it might well be. That's really up to you now, chum.
Yeah, James, that was a little bit naughty, I think. But we'll see. He's got time to get round. I think that we're going to see a real mighty...
I don't know if he has, you know, Damon. I think he deliberately did that. I mean, it's a big thing to say about a 2-time world champion, but the lollipop was raised a good 5 seconds before Alonso drove out. He knew Hamilton was queuing behind him, and he knew how critical it was. And I think that if this happens, that as we think it might here, that Hamilton misses the chance to do a qualifying lap. This is an important race for McLaren and for Ferrari, because McLaren know that there's some tracks coming up now, like Spa and Turkey, where the Ferrari will be stronger, and they need to maintain their points advantage over Ferrari. They need a maximum score here of 18 points just to shore things up ahead of some difficult weather ahead, with Ferrari coming back very strongly at them on tracks that will suit them better. So Raikkonen, we'll know that, and he will want to get as far up the grid as possible. Here's his lunge. He goes 3rd, faster than Heidfeldt by half a second. and we'll see whether Heidfeld can respond to that.
Showing his class there, Raikkonen. It looked like a fantastic lap, and he knew it was important. He held it together.
Checkered flag, and Hamilton's missed it. Hamilton's missed it by 4 seconds, so he is not going to get a lap in. Alonso just made it through, and there will be some serious talk. What would you do if you were Lewis Hamilton and your teammate had just done that to you?
I'm not Lewis Hamilton, James. But if I was me, I'd be very upset.
Well, at the moment, he's still on provisional pole position, remember, on a 19.7. Alonso needs to find 0.4 of a second. It could all be academic, but nevertheless, the gesture, if such it was, has been made here. Heidfeld gets back in front of Raikkonen. A 1:20.2 from Heidfeld gets himself back in front of the Ferrari. And here's Hamilton not going terribly quickly, slowly making his way back to pits. Ted Kravitz, what can you tell us?
Ron Dennis was out of his chair. He's absolutely furious. He normally sits there completely impassive watching the session, but as soon as Fernando Alonso just went away, while the mechanic was waving at him, the engineers were screaming down the radio, come on, get on with it, and the mechanic was waving at him. Ron Dennis, when he saw that Lewis wasn't going to make it, got out of his chair and was waving his hands around, clearly furious.
Meanwhile, Alonso faster than anybody in the middle sector. Is he going to take provisional pole position on this very controversial day? Drives like, yes, he does. He goes through on a 19.6, but there are going to be some serious words in the McLaren garage. We saw before that, you remember, Alonso was indicating very agitated. Look at this.
Well, I'm going to say, James, you know, that we thought they had some problems, McLaren and Ferrari, before this event started, but there's going to be some serious fireworks now. That was tactics and time to perfection. Alonso really, I'm afraid, stuffed it to Lewis, and the camp is split in McLaren. You can see it.